simple job of keeping this country alive, although there were some pockets of tragedies. I've been praising the whole workforce.
Namaskar and welcome. You're watching Midday Prime. I'm Sakal Bhatt. Well, India continues to witness a steady decline in the active caseload of COVID-19. We will be tracking those COVID numbers for you. We will also be getting you the latest on the DGCA guidelines issued, plus all top trending sports, business and world stories. But first up on Midday Prime, here are the headlines. Supreme Court directs Centre to make guidelines on compensation for COVID-19 death claims. Orders to pay reasonable amount as Ex-Gratia instructs National Disaster Management Authority to ascertain the same within 6 weeks. DGCA extends ban on scheduled commercial international flights till 31st of July 2021. Says restrictions shall not be applicable on international cargo operations and flights specifically approved by DGCA. Bharat Biotech issues statement on alleged Bolsonaro co-vaccine gate in Brazil, clarifies that widely accepted and establishment procurement process for COVID-19 vaccines and several vaccines for routine immunization followed. COVID cases keep declining steadily in the country. Active cases go down further to 5,37,064. Overall recovery rate climbs further to 96.92%. Home Ministry issues fresh advisory to states to consider implementation of targeted and prompt actions for COVID management. Dozens dead as heat wave shatters records in Canada, sets a new all-time high temperature record for a third day in a row, reaching 40+ degrees Celsius in Canada. And England finally beat Germany 2-0 in a knockout match after 55 years to advance into the quarterfinals of the European Championships. Ukraine enter Euro 2020 quarters by defeating Sweden. And Serena Williams dreams of winning an 8th Wimbledon singles title and equaling Margaret Court's Grand Slam record of 24 ends in tears after injury. And we begin Midday Prime with the big news. And the top story we're leading with is the Supreme Court issuing directions to the central government to frame guidelines for providing a minimum relief to the care of those who succumbed to COVID-19. The Apex Court has directed the National Disaster Management Authority to ascertain within 6 weeks ex-gratia amount that can be paid to the family members of the deceased. However, the top court noted that it cannot direct an amount that the centre will have to pay. The court was hearing petitions seeking directions to the centre to provide ex-gratia compensation of ₹4 lakh each to families of people who lost their lives to COVID-19. The centre had earlier this month told the Supreme Court that compensation of ₹4 lakh cannot be paid to the families of those who have died of COVID-19 as the finances of the state government and the centre are under severe strain. And Vikas is joining us for more on the Supreme Court directions to the centre to form these guidelines within 6 weeks. Vikas, just elaborate a bit on it.
Court was about the interpretation of Section 12 of NDMA. Now, court has said that once COVID is declared as a pandemic and as a disaster, then NDMA is bound to give some kind of ex-gratia relief. What should be the amount? It should be decided by the NDMA itself. But court has held that as per the directions given in section 12, NDMA will have to come up with a guideline for ex-gratia relief. Now the center was of the opinion that if these kind of directions are given to the states and the center, then it will certainly put resources under stress, and these funds are also meant for ex-gratia relief in cases of earthquake and floods. But now court has held that NDMA will have to decide on what amount can be given to each and every COVID victim as an ex-gratia relief. The time has been given by the Supreme Court, and now within that stipulated time, the NDMA will have to come with a proper policy.
All right, Vikas, thank you for those quick updates on the Supreme Court guidelines on formation of guidelines and also for the ex-gratia for COVID-19 victims. And now let's move on and talk about the DGCA guidelines. Keeping in mind the COVID-19 pandemic situation in the country as a cautionary measure or as a precautionary measure, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation has extended the suspension of scheduled commercial international flights till 31st of July. The new restrictions shall not be applicable on international cargo operations and flights specifically approved by the DGCA. Flights on selected routes shall be allowed on a case-to-case basis. Scheduled passenger international flights were first banned in March 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic, while domestic flights resumed in May. Since then, the DGCA has extended the ban on international flights multiple times. Arun is joining us with more. Arun with more on DGCA guidelines and what are the riders attached, and more details on this, please.
That's right, Sakal. So, important aspect is that right from March, 2020, the DGCA has suspended the international or scheduled international commercial flights. Until now, this order has been reviewed, and of course, this international scheduled commercial flight operation will be remaining suspended until 31st of July. But interestingly, there are two important aspects to it. Number one, Government of India is having a mechanism called Vande Bharat Mission, and second is Air Bubble Agreement. We have seen it how in last 2020 and of course until 2021, we have seen how government has ensured that via Vande Bharat Mission, repatriation can be done of the passengers who are stuck in other countries, and of course the passengers who want to go from India to other countries can also take Vande Bharat flights. Second is Air Bubble Agreement. Now, under the Air Bubble Agreement, India has done this agreement with close to 28 countries. This includes US, Canada, Australia, Germany, France, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Sri Lanka. So these are some of the countries, and government has done this Air Bubble Agreement with 28 countries. So now the thing is that these two special arrangements will be there in place, but there will be no scheduled international commercial flight which are being conducted by the international airline itself. In place of that, under the Air Bubble Agreement, and of course the Vande Bharat Mission, the flight operation will continue. But as far as rider is concerned, the rider is that now it depends upon the destination country. For example, Canada has banned the flights from India till 29th of July, and it is all set to open the flight operations from 29th of July. That means all the students, entrepreneurs, anybody who wants to take a visit to Canada for that matter, they can take up this visit after 29th of July. So there are various mechanisms into it. You have to watch the country specific guidelines. Embassies of all the countries have mentioned that by which time or which date primarily the flight operation will start taking place, because during this peak in India, there were various countries, they blocked or they banned the flight operations, the international operations, not only from India, from other countries as well. But now as the cases are declining, because this fact that in the month of May, we have seen that close to more than 4 lakh cases coming on a daily basis. Now, less than 40,000 cases are coming on daily basis. So gradually the cases have declined drastically. And in that context only we can expect that now more and more countries will be coming forward, will be opening up their, this ban from India, and we can expect a lot of flights or international flights taking place. But that will be under the Air Bubble Agreement, or of course the Vande Bharat Mission, and no doubt the cargo operations will be continuing going forward as well.
Yes, I was about to ask you this. All these restrictions exempt cargo operations. Cargo operations will not come under the ambit of restrictions. That is important.
Absolutely. So we have seen this fact, Sakal, that during the COVID pandemic time in 2020 and in 2021 as well, lot of cargo material has been supplied, or various healthcare equipments, aid from Indian side has also been supplied from our country to other countries as well. A lot of aid has also come from other countries to India as well during the COVID pandemic time. So the international cargo operations will remain in place, but yes, under the air bubble agreement, and of course the Vande Bharat mission, the flight operation will take place, and with the special flight that have been given a green signal by DGCA, the cargo operations will continue as going forward, because all of medicine, healthcare equipment, healthcare aid, that is coming under the cargo operations, and that shall remain to be continued.
All right, Arun, many thanks for those inputs for DGCA's international air travel ban extension. Thank you. Moving on Midday Prime, Bharat Biotech today issued a statement on alleged Bolsonaro co-vaccine gauge in Brazil. The statement stated that step-by-step approach has been followed towards contracts and regulatory approvals during an 8-month-long process. Emergency use authorizations received on June 4, 2021. However, as of June 29th, no advance payments have been received nor supplied vaccines to Brazil. The statement comes soon after it emerged that the Brazilian government, which agreed to purchase of 20 million doses of Covaxin on Wednesday, announced suspension of the contract following allegations of irregularities in the deal. The company added that the pricing of Covaxin was clearly established between $15 to $20 per dose for supplies to the governments outside India. The pricing for Brazil had also been indicated as $5 per dose. Covaxin has now received emergency use authorizations in 16 countries, which includes Brazil, India, Philippines, Iran, Mexico, etc. Emergency use authorizations in process in 50 countries worldwide. Let's now take a look at the numbers. COVID-19 situation from across the country. India has reported 45,951 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. Less than 50,000 daily new cases have been reported since 3 continuous days. This is a result of sustained and collaborative efforts by centre and the states and the union territories. India has also been witnessing a continuous fall in the active caseload. The country's active caseload today stands at 5,37,064. A net decline of 15,595 is witnessed in the last 24 hours, and active cases are now only 1.77% of the country's total positive cases. As more people are getting recovered from COVID-19 infection, India's daily recoveries continue to outnumber the daily new cases for 48 consecutive days now. 60,000 plus recoveries were registered in the last 24 hours. More than 14,000 recoveries reported during last 24 hours as compared to the daily new cases. Out of the people infected since the beginning of the pandemic, 2,94,27,330 people have already recovered from COVID-19, and 60,729 patients have recovered in the last 24 hours, and this constitutes an overall recovery rate of 96.92%, which is showing a sustained increasing trend. And with substantially ramped up testing capacity across the country, a total of 19,60,757 tests were conducted in the last 24 hours in the country. Cumulatively, India has conducted over 41.01 crore tests so far. While on one side testing capacity has been enhanced across the country, a continued decline in weekly case positivity is noticed. Weekly positivity rate stands at 2.69%, while the daily positivity rate stands at 2.34%. Today, it has remained less than 5% for the 23rd consecutive day as of now. And India continues to ramp up vaccination or vaccinating its population against the COVID-19. Under the largest nationwide vaccination drive, the country so far has administered a total of 33,28,54,527 doses on Tuesday. As many as 36,51,983 people received their vaccine doses, of which 27,42,630 received their first dose, while 9,09,353 received their second dose of vaccine. The new phase of universalization of COVID-19 vaccination commenced from 21st of June 2021. The government meanwhile has ramped up the vaccination drive across the country, through availability of more vaccines, advance visibility of vaccine availability to states and union territories. The government has provided 32 crore 13 lakh 75,820 vaccine doses to states and union territories so far through free of cost channel and through direct state procurement category. Of this, the total consumption including wastages as on today morning is 31 crore 40 lakh 75,654 doses, and as many as 73 lakh 166 balance and unutilized COVID vaccine doses are still available with the states and union territories to be administered. 24,65,980 vaccine doses are in the pipeline. They will be received by the states and union territories within the next 3 days. The East Delhi District Administration of the MCD has shut down the Lakshmi Nagar main bazaar till July 5th due to increasing congestion and people not adhering to COVID appropriate behavior. An order issued by East District Magistrate Sonika Singh and Delhi Disaster Management Authority chairperson on Tuesday stated that the stretch from Vikas Marg to Lovely Public School, Kishan Kunj and its surrounding markets, Mangal Bazaar, Vijay Chowk, Subhash Chowk, Jagat Ram Park, Guru Ramdas Nagar, etc. would be restricted to open from 10 p.m. on June 29th, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on July 5th or till further orders. However, these restrictions are not applicable on those shops dealing with essential goods and services. And talking about Maharashtra, the Maharashtra government today informed the Bombay High Court that it would not wait for the centre's approval and proceed with implementing door-to-door vaccination on an experimental basis. Advocate General Ashutosh Kumkhakoni made this statement before a division bench of Chief Justice Dipankar Datta and Justice G.S. Kulkarni, saying that the government wants to do it on an experimental basis and they propose to start it from Pune district as the size of the districts is not too large or not too small. He further added that it will be done just the way a vaccination drive was conducted for the students going abroad in Pune district. The court then said they hope that and pray that the council does not press for the condition for the doctors to give his undertaking. In a critical operation, the hospital takes the patient's relatives' undertaking and don't give this impractical condition that no one comes forward. This was the observation by court. The court was also hearing a public interest litigation plea seeking door-to-door vaccination for those above 75 years of age and who used wheelchair. And now let's move on to our next segment, that is Developing Story. The Delimitation Commission has tasked with redrawing parliamentary and assembly constituency in Jammu and Kashmir is likely to hold an internal meeting today. The meeting will be attended by Jammu and Kashmir's Chief Electoral Officer along with other officials of the poll panel. The commission is expected to finalize its plans after consultations with political parties soon. Last week on June 23rd, the Election Commission held virtual discussions with its representatives in Jammu and Kashmir and deputy commissioners regarding the delimitation of the 90 Assembly constituency in Union Territory. The three-member Delimitation Commission headed by retired Supreme Court Judge Ranjana Prakash Desai was set up in March last year. Moving on to now National Prime segment. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu today visited India's first 3D printed house constructed at the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. He went around the building accompanied by IIT Madras Director Bhaskar Ramamurthy and the founders of the startup that built the structure. Later, the Vice President witnessed a presentation on its construction. India's first 3D printed house was constructed in 21 days at IIT Madras campus by startup T-Vasta, founded by alumni of IIT Madras, and with a built area of about 600 square feet, the single-story home was a functional space comprising of the single bedroom hall and kitchen. This Made in India technology has the potential to change the term building to printing in the coming years. Speaking on the occasion, the Vice President said 3D printing and robotics can help make traditional manufacturing practices faster and cost-effective.
world is moving faster. Opportunities are coming and also challenges are also coming. Keeping these challenges in mind, how do you overcome those challenges? How do you invent new technologies? Marry your invention and technology together and then take it to the people and then make it as a movement. That is what is required. This project is also a perfect example of the dividends we can derive from the fourth industrial revolution, where a fusion of smart technologies like 3D printing and robotics can change the traditional manufacturing practices.
Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman virtually inaugurated the 3D house on 27th of April 2021. And now let's move on and get you more news and updates. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be interacting with the beneficiaries of Digital India tomorrow at 11 a.m. via video conferencing. The program is being organized by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology on the occasion of Digital India completing 6 years since its launch by Prime Minister on 1st of July 2015. Digital India has been one of the biggest success stories of New India, enabling services, bringing government closer to citizens, promoting citizen engagement and empowering people. Union Minister of Electronics and IT will also be present on the occasion. Well, Delhi continues to reel under hot and humid weather conditions. The national capital is likely to continue witnessing heat wave-like conditions today as well. The maximum temperature in Delhi touched 43 degrees Celsius on Tuesday, which was the highest recording this year. The minimum temperature is predicted to be 29 degrees Celsius, while maximum temperature is likely to reach 42 degrees Celsius. Across Delhi NCR, Delhi appeared to be headed for an early monsoon this year, with IMD initially predicting its arrival on June 15th. At least 12 days ahead of its usual arrival date of arrival on June 27th. However, weather conditions changed since then, and in subsequent forecasts, IMD officials said that the monsoon in Delhi was on halt and was unlikely to hit the region till at least first week of July. Abhishek Jha joining us with more updates on the IMD forecast. Abhishek, any good news for Delhiites before 1st of July, but the latest forecast suggests it's a delayed monsoon.
So no good news, no respite from heat settle inside, at least for another week. As you have seen that some meteorological pattern and the wind pattern that are actually used to predict the weather forecast has clearly indicated that at least for another 1 week, the low pressure areas have been created and that are actually halting the movement of southwestern monsoon towards this region, which is mostly western Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana and Delhi. Otherwise, mostly the majorly part of our nation has been covered in monsoon. In fact, there have been news of flooding from various eastern states. In UP also, like a substantial portion of UP has been covered by rain. Bihar, West Bengal, mostly the northeastern states. Everywhere the monsoon and continuous rain is happening, but still people in Delhi and in this western region, northern region, Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, they will have to wait for another 1 week and they will have to deal with this sweltering heat, humid and loo condition.
So rainfall, just to simplify it further, the latest IMD readings, rainfall not expected before first week of July, but some respite in the first week, which is just around the corner, or maybe the end of first week of July.
Okay, so like that respite, if you count, in this week also we saw some like 5 mm rain was reported in some isolated parts of Delhi, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh, and that was very minimal, almost 5 mm of rain had happened. So that sort of casual thing can happen, but for a larger full-fledged weather pattern to change and the wind pattern to change and the monsoon to arrive in Delhi, we need to have certain other weather system to cooperate the movement of southwestern monsoon towards this direction, and the wind pattern will also have to change, and accordingly the IMD forecast is as of now that the earlier forecasts have been revised, and new forecast says that until first week of July there is not going to be a full-fledged monsoon arrival in this part of the country, and meanwhile people can take all the precaution because of this humid condition. It also brings a lot of inconvenience and heat-induced illness. So maybe people can keep themselves hydrated, keep themselves under shelters, and don't venture out until it is required. And thus we can deal with this heat wave condition in this part of the country.
Yeah, I won't let you stand out much amidst that heat and humid conditions there. Thank you very much, Abhishek, for joining us live on this important weather story. Thank you. And now let's get you some news on the MEA front. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair spoke in a virtual meeting today. The theme of the meeting was Global Leadership, Radical Actions for a Post-Pandemic Era. The meeting was a part of the India Global Forum 2021. While speaking on this theme, Dr. S. Jaishankar spoke on climate change and how India is working well in the direction of the green energy. Jaishankar also called for global cooperation against the pandemic and in the direction of the formulation and distribution of vaccines.
Today we have one of the largest solar programs in the world, and we've also been using both bilateral partnership programs and International Solar Alliance to push green electricity generation, especially in Africa. We have to look at a lot of these issues with clearer eyes, if you would, with fresher eyes. When we say sustainability, it's not just about generating power or polluting the atmosphere.
Furthermore, External Affairs Minister said that presently technologies offer possibility in climate change. Challenge is to make them available, affordable and accessible.
Today, technology offers possibilities, even possibilities which were not there the last time we all, let's say, if I were to use Paris as a benchmark. We have technologies, we have solutions. The challenge is to make them available, make them affordable, make them accessible. If it is existential, let's see existential policies.
India is working well in the direction of green energy and much more. The interventions made by EAM for more on that, Amrit Pal, my colleague tracking the story closely, joined us on phone line. Amrit, over to you please for more details.
Second, this interaction primarily focused, as you said, the theme was global leadership, radical actions for a post-pandemic era. Now, the External Affairs Minister, as you listed out, and we heard him in the soundbite that you played, where he argued that for climate change to become real, it has to be sustainable, and for that, resources have to be made available. He said technologies are there. Today's technologies do offer the possibility in bringing about, arresting the climate change. The challenge really is to make them available, affordable and accessible. Essentially appealing to the developed world whose carbon footprint has been larger, that they have to help the South, the global South, in providing technology, making it accessible to them. And of course, even Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, said that the way forward is to go back to the roots and find a sustainable way of living if we want to do anything meaningful on climate change. Also, the other thing that the External Affairs Minister focused on was a response, a multilateral response to the problems of the world. He said climate change is global, terrorism is global, pandemic is global, but our responses tend to be national. This was the line he took at the G20 foreign ministers meet in Italy yesterday as well. Basically, he's arguing that unless a unified response from the world, a collective endeavor is made, that part of the world which does not have the resources to deal with problems which are primarily global in nature or affect the whole globe, are transnational in nature, then the whole ship goes down. So this was the thrust of the External Affairs Minister's argument today.
All right. All right, the crux of External Affairs Minister's intervention on Global Forum. Thank you very much, Amrit, for joining us on that. And on Midday Prime, it's time to slip into a very, very short break. On the other side, we'll get you more news from the world of business, sports and global news on the other side. Stay with us.
घर की सारी चीजें महंगी हो जरूरी है, उम्दा हो बहुत जरूरी है, लेकिन घर का जो सीमेंट है ना वो बहुत उम्दा होना चाहिए, जैसे वंडर सीमेंट। भाई उसकी क्वालिटी और टेक्नोलॉजी के चर्चे हैं वर्ल्ड में। आप मेरा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ले लीजिए। मैं कॉन्ट्रैक्टर नहीं, वकील हूँ।
वंडर सीमेंट जब भी आए भला कर जाए।
बढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कर आता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
हमारा यहाँ प्रकट होना ही इस बात का प्रमाण है कि दुष्ट को उसकी दुष्टता का दंड अवश्य दिया जाएगा। बोलिए श्री महागणेश की
Have we decoded bread of virus, the speed at which it is going to now escalate, multiply? Are we now under control? Do we know what we are dealing with COVID-19 now?
We should be actually anticipating in a way that third wave will come. The question to us, and you rightly ask, what will it take us that we do not have a resurgence?
Has this actually served as a wake-up call finally?
Virus will mutate. We need every citizen of India to fight honestly. Don't put everything on government. You make the country.
छिपा है ये, पुरखों की कृपा है ये, दिखलाएगा रास्ता। योगानुशासनम, योगानुशासनम। दुनिया में प्रसिद्ध जो, अपने आप सिद्ध जो, रखना इस पे आस्था। योगानुशासनम, योगानुशासनम। योगारंभ हो, योगारंभ हो, योगारंभ हो। विश्व को भेंट दी हमने योगारंभ हो, सुलझा दे जीवन को वो योग है, जो सुलझा दे जीवन को वो योग है।
Thanks for staying with us on Midday Prime. It's time to now switch over to the news and updates coming in from the world of business. And for Business Prime, Tanvi, my colleague, joins us in Delhi studio for more. Tanvi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sakal. Well, in Business Prime, the goods and services tax system is going to complete 4 years tomorrow. That's 1st of July. During the 4 years, several key policy initiatives have been taken by the government to make the GST system and compliance mechanism simple, transparent and technology-driven. The Finance Ministry, in a series of tweets, said that GST has replaced the complex indirect tax structure with a simple, transparent and technology-driven tax regime, and has thus integrated India into a single common market. It further said, with the continuous simplification of procedures and rationalization of rate structures so as to make GST compliance easy for the common man as well as the trade, we have been able to achieve economic integration of the country with a humane touch. In a series of tweets, the Finance Ministry said that GST has significantly eased one of the most complex indirect tax systems in the world. A company looking to do business in every state had to make as many as 495 different submissions. Under the GST, that number has been reduced to just 12. It further said the multiple markets across India, with each state charging a different rate of tax, led to great inefficiencies and costs of compliance. Under GST, compliance has been improving steadily, with around 1.3 crore taxpayers now registered. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also hailed the successful implementation of GST in the country. He tweeted, and I quote, "GST has been a milestone in the economic landscape of India. It has decreased the number of taxes, compliance burden and overall tax burden on the common man, while significantly increasing transparency, compliance and overall collection." He wrote hashtag 4 years of GST. Unquote. Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, approved a proposal to introduce a framework for accredited investors in the Indian securities market. It will be a class of investors who may be considered to be well informed or well advised about investment products. Accredited investors may be individuals, Hindu undivided families, HUFs, family trusts, sole proprietorships, partnership firms, trusts and body corporates, based on financial parameters and information as may be specified by SEBI. The regulatory amendments issued by SEBI also cover asset management companies, audit committees, real estate investment trusts and infrastructure investment trusts. Next, to update you on the domestic stock markets, well, the domestic equity benchmark started Wednesday's session on a strong note amid broad-based gains across sectors. So the Sensex at the BSE had jumped 178 points or 0.3% to 52,727 in afternoon deals a short while ago. And the Nifty at the National Stock Exchange had advanced 47 points or 0.3% to 15,797. In the broader market, the BSE mid-cap index was up 0.2% and the small-cap index had gained 0.7%. The top index gainers so far are Infosys, Reliance, Kotak Mahindra, Maruti Suzuki and Tech Mahindra, with gains of between 1.5% and 0.8%. The top index losers are Power Grid Corporation, HUL, ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank, with losses of between 0.5% and 1.1%. Other key Asian markets were mixed on Wednesday. So MSCI's index tracking Asian shares outside Japan was up just 0.1%. Japan's Nikkei 225 index fell 0.1% and Hong Kong's Hang Seng index slipped 0.3%. But South Korea's Kospi gained 0.3% and China's Shanghai Composite Index rose 0.5%. Moreover, major Chinese tech indices booked their biggest quarterly gains in a year on policy support from Beijing and strong earnings expectations. Back home, the interbank foreign exchange market, the rupee had depreciated 5 paise against the dollar in opening trade on Wednesday amid a firm US dollar overseas. Later, the rupee lost some more ground and had weakened 20 paise to 74 rupees 42 paise against the dollar in afternoon deals. Moving on to the multi-commodity exchange, gold had depreciated 87 rupees to 46,468 rupees per 10 grams. But silver had gained 102 rupees to 67,334 rupees per kilo. And as we wind up our Business Prime segment, let's update you on the global crude oil prices. They rose on Wednesday after an industry report showed that US crude stockpiles fell last week, overriding trader and investor concerns about transportation curbs in some countries as COVID-19 cases surge. So Brent crude was up 25 cents or 0.3% at $75.01 a barrel. US crude was up 41 cents or 0.6% at $73.39 a barrel. So that's it in Business Prime. Back to you, Sakal.
Thank you, Tanvi, for joining us. And on Midday Prime, let's now get you stories what's making news across the globe. First up, heat wave in Canada, where dozens of people have died in Canada amid an unprecedented heat wave that has smashed temperature records. Police in the Vancouver area have responded to more than 130 sudden deaths since Friday. Mostly they were elderly or had underlying health conditions, with the heat acting often as a contributing factor. Canada broke its temperature record for the third straight day on Tuesday. 49.6 degrees Celsius recorded in Lytton, British Columbia. The US Northwest has also seen record highs and a number of fatalities. The heat over western parts of Canada and the US has been caused by a dome of static high pressure hot air stretching from California to the Arctic territories. Temperatures have been easing in coastal areas, but there is little immediate respite for inland regions. And before Sunday, temperatures in Canada had never passed 45 degrees centigrade. Meanwhile, international tourism arrivals are set to stagnate this year, except for some Western markets, causing up to $2.4 trillion in further global losses in the sector, not expected to rebound fully until 2023, according to the reports by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development and the UN's World Tourism Organization. COVID-19 vaccination and certificates are key to restoring confidence in foreign tourism, which provides a lifeline to many countries, especially jobs in the small island states. In 2020, international arrivals plunged by 73% from pre-pandemic levels in 2019, causing estimated losses of $2.4 trillion in tourism and related sectors. The report sets out 3 scenarios for 2021. International tourism arrivals are forecast to drop by 63% to 75% against pre-pandemic levels, with losses of $1.7 trillion to $2.4 trillion. The European Union's digital COVID-19 certificate, due to come into force from tomorrow, represents the only regional harmonization to date.
In international tourism, we are at levels of 30 years ago. So basically, we are in the years 80s. So not much crowd. The problem that we are mainly facing is that many livelihoods are really at threat. And I will pick it up from the policy recommendations. We have lost 1 billion travelers, so 1 billion opportunities for people to build livelihoods, especially in developing countries. What we are looking at the long run is that the majority of experts are looking at meeting the 2019 numbers after 2023.
Well, Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid on Tuesday met with Emirati counterpart Abdullah bin Zayed on the first day of his 2-day historic UAE visit. Lapid also signed a bilateral agreement on economic cooperation, and during his visit, Lapid will be inaugurating a consulate in Dubai and is also scheduled to visit the site of Expo 2020 Dubai, which is a world fair opening in October where Israel has built a pavilion. The trip is an opportunity for the 2-week-old Israeli government of Naftali Bennett to make diplomatic inroads in Emirates. And now a quick check on how the COVID-19 numbers stack up across the world. And so far, more than 18 crore 26 lakh people have been infected with COVID-19 cumulatively. The recovery rate has crossed 16 crore 72 lakh. The disease has claimed over 39 lakh 54,000 lives globally. US has been the worst affected country with more than 3 crore 45 lakh total infections. Country's fatalities stand at more than 6 lakh 19,000 from the pandemic. And Bangladeshi government has issued a notification for strict COVID-19 lockdown starting from tomorrow till 7th of July in order to control the spread of coronavirus in the country. The army will be aiding civil administration for effective implementation. According to the notification, all offices including the government, para-government, autonomous and private ones will remain closed throughout the country. Public transport including railway, roadways, waterways, domestic flights will remain suspended. However, international flights will continue to operate. No motorized vehicles will operate during the period of the lockdown. However, transportation related to essential items, law enforcement and emergency services will be allowed to operate. All shops and shopping malls will remain closed. Shops selling items of daily use, vegetables and fish may operate in open spaces between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Hotels and restaurants will be allowed to serve online and takeaway orders. All tourist places, resorts, community centers and recreation centers will remain closed. Special social programs like weddings, birthdays or other similar events, political and religious programs will be restricted during this period. No one will be allowed to move out of their homes except for emergencies like purchase of medicine, last rites, purchase of items of daily use, etc. Legal action will be taken against those who defy these orders. Factories will remain open under their own management following health guidelines and protocols. Airports, land ports, seaports and related offices will not come under the purview of this lockdown. Bangladesh Bank will issue necessary orders for ensuring banking services. The Armed Forces Division will deploy personnel under the Army in aid to civil power. Rule to ensure effective patrolling at the field level. District Magistrate will ensure this by contracting the local commanders. And now it's time for the stories from the world of sports. Well, it's a power-packed sports segment, soccer, cricket, badminton, you name it and it's there. Thank you very much, Naran, for joining us. It's over to you for more.
Thanks, Sagal. We start with the badminton. Ace shuttler PV Sindhu is ready and excited to represent India in the upcoming Tokyo Olympics. The absence of defending champion Carolina Marin will be an advantage, but there are at least 6 more title contenders at the Tokyo Games. Sindhu had settled for a silver 5 years back at the Rio Games after going down against Carolina Marin.
Preparations wise, yes, everything is going on well, sir, and yeah, they're just a couple of weeks away, and yeah, you know, back then unfortunately it got postponed because of this COVID, but now you know, it has arrived finally, and I hope things will be fine and everything will be good, but we have to be careful, and obviously we have to make sure that we maintain that social distancing and make sure we wear masks and, you know, keep sanitizing. But otherwise, yes, preparations are going on well, and yeah, I'm all set, and I'm really excited, looking forward for the Olympics.
In order to support our Tokyo-bound athletes, Sports Authority of India is conducting a quiz. You can also participate in this quiz by logging into the address displayed on the screen. So you can improve your sports knowledge, and also you can support the athletes who are participating in the Tokyo Olympics by participating in this quiz. Now shifting to focus to tennis court, 8 times champion Roger Federer survived a massive scare against Adrian Manarino before advancing to the Wimbledon second round when Frenchman retired with a knee injury after slipping on court. The match was poised at 6-4, 6-7, 3-6, 6-2 with Federer forcing a fifth set before Manarino, celebrating his 33rd birthday, decided he could not continue. Meanwhile, in women's singles, world number 1 Ashley Barty held off spirited Carla Suarez Navarro to reach the second round at the Wimbledon. Australia's Barty, returning from a thigh injury, fought back a rocky second set to win 6-1, 6-7, 6-1. Now it's time for news from the UEFA Euro 2020. Ukraine struck twice late on to end a 55-year wait for a knockout tie victory over Germany amid scenes of huge tension and elation at the Wembley to reach the Euro 2020 quarter-finals. Gareth Southgate's side battled hard to earn the statement victory that has so often eluded England, and it was their talisman of this tournament, Raheem Sterling, who made the decisive breakthrough. Sterling, who scored the winners against Croatia and the Czech Republic in the group stage, still Luke Shaw's cross after 75 minutes to send England's fans with more than 40,000 inside Wembley into wild celebration. The win was secured, another moment of significance 4 minutes later, time from captain Harry Kane, who had once again struggled to influence the game, headed in from substitute Jack Grealish's perfect delivery for his first goal of the Euro 2020. England were again thankful for a brilliance of Everton goalkeeper Jordan Pickford, who has yet to concede a goal in this tournament. Meanwhile, Artem Dovik scored at added time in extra time as Ukraine edged out 10-man Sweden at the Hampton to set up a Euro 2020 quarter-final with England. Alexander Zinchenko smashed Ukraine in front with a powerful drive, but a deflected shot from Emil Forsberg leveled the matters before half-time. Sweden lost Marcus Danielsson to a red card in the extra time after a VAR check. And with penalties looming, Dovik, one of the 12 substitutes used, headed a dramatic winner from close range. Ukraine had crept through from the group phase with 3 points and a negative goal difference, while Sweden topped their section with 7 points ahead of Spain. And to take a perspective of the Euro 2020, we are joined by Anil Thomas. Anil, where Germany lost the plot and quarter-final lineup is already there, and the big match we saw that Germany lost the match, and England, after a very, very long time, that is 55 years, they won a knockout match against Germany.
Well, good afternoon, Mark. Very surprising the way in which Germany went about with the business. Germany looked defensive. Germany was doing all the attacking in the initial phases, but after the lemon break, I think a change of strategy, where the manager thought it would be more right, to rather be defensive or, keep more of midfield action and let England, come out of the box and let England come out and explore something. And I think the mistake was there, even when they, even when Raheem Sterling got the initial breakthrough. Immediately back, Germany had a chance to equalize through Thomas Müller. And I think the German forwards somewhere, didn't, rise up to the occasion and didn't want, or failed to rather counter the English defense. And I think more than the English forward, it's the English defense that needs to be applauded. The manner in which Gareth Southgate has been able to manage this particular defense together, they look pretty compact. They have still not conceded a goal. It's Raheem Sterling who scores in every match. That's important. Harry Kane getting his scoring goal soon really, sets the onus for England. But I think Germany, they had their chances. They failed to capitalize on it. And I think that's the big mistake that they made. That goal down, they had a chance to immediately back on the counter. 2 minutes after that, they had 2 golden opportunities. But I think they made a mess of it. Somewhere deep down in the mind, the game was lost. The game was lost, and England looked rather rejuvenated after getting a goal, in the play. And this has been a talk of the town. You take them to the tiebreakers and England could crack. But England got an early goal and England looked a different side. And that's where Germany's problems compounded. They couldn't get that equalizer, and then they seemed to be pretty lost. Even in that extra 4 minutes of play that was there beyond 90, they had their opportunities. But I think, full marks to the English defense and the goalkeeper, the manner in which they kept the German forwards at bay.
So full marks to the England team here and their goalkeeper Jordan Pickford. Thanks Anil for sharing the valuable inputs about the Euro 2020. And that's all in this Sports Prime, and for the rest of you, go back to Sakal.
It's on Midday Prime. Thank you, Naran. And with that, it's time to wrap up this edition of Midday Prime. On the other side, Arindra will be joining you with the top stories of the day. Stay tuned to DD News and DD India. Namaskar.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India. Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Muy
India.
Nahnu Hunud. India. Ma Hindi Hasti. Mung Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Have we decoded bred of virus, the speed at which it is going to now escalate, multiply? Are we now under control? Do we know what we are dealing with, COVID-19 now?
We should be actually anticipating in a way that third wave will come. The question to us, and you rightly ask, what will it take us that we do not have a resurgence?
Has this actually served as a wake-up call finally?
Virus will mutate. We need every citizen of India to fight honestly. Don't put everything on government. You make the country.
Well over a year since the COVID-19 outbreak, the world is still looking for answers. How did the COVID-19 virus originate? Did the virus jump from wildlife to humans? Did it leak from a biolab accidentally? Or is it a biological weapon developed in a laboratory to wreak havoc? BioQuest is back to trace the origins of COVID-19, only on DD India.
If we look at that analogy, in a sense, we can see that we are poised for another V-shaped recovery.
Absolutely.
We can say.
The recovery has been delayed by 1 quarter. The quarter April, May, June. But you are right, absolutely. The recovery in this case will be even faster than most people are looking at the negative effects. Business, industry, government, everybody has learned from the first wave how to deal with it.
As I'm saying,
Namaskar friends, and welcome to this Cabinet press briefing. As you are aware, the CCEA and the Cabinet met this morning. To brief you on the decisions taken in the meeting, we have with us the Honorable Minister for Law and Justice, Communications and Electronics and IT, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad ji, the Honorable Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Environment, Forests and Climate Change, and Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises, Shri Prakash Javadekar ji, the Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge for Power, New and Renewable Energy and Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Shri R.K. Singh ji. My warm welcome to the Honorable Ministers. First, Shri Prakash Javadekar ji will brief. Then Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad ji will brief, followed by Shri R.K. Singh ji. After the briefing, we will take some questions related to the Cabinet decisions. Over to Honorable Ministers.
सबको नमस्कार। प्रधानमंत्री के अध्यक्षता में हुई आज की कैबिनेट बैठक में अनेक महत्वपूर्ण निर्णय लिए गए। 2 दिन पहले एक बड़ा निर्णय घोषित किया था वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमण जी ने कि जिनको कोविड के चलते दिक्कतों का सामना करना पड़ रहा है, ऐसे सभी क्षेत्रों को 6,28,000 करोड़ का मदद का एक पूरा खाका उन्होंने बताया था। आज मुझे खुशी है कि 2 दिन हुए और कैबिनेट ने आज उसको अप्रूवल भी दिया। यह महत्वपूर्ण इसलिए है कि हमने ऐसी सरकारें देखी है कि घोषणा करके एक चुनाव होने देते, फिर शिलान्यास करके दूसरा चुनाव कराते और उद्घाटन होने तक वो सत्ता से बाहर भी जाते हैं। लेकिन मोदी सरकार है कि जो बोलते हैं वो करते हैं और तुरंत करते हैं। तो ये भी एक महत्वपूर्ण पहलू है सुशासन का। जैसे आपको मालूम है कि 2,60,000 के एक लोन गारंटी स्कीम एक कोविड अफेक्टेड सेक्टर्स को मदद करने के लिए, और दूसरी इमरजेंसी क्रेडिट लाइन जो पहले ही 2,70,000 करोड़ के लोन सैंक्शन हो गए हैं, इसमें और 1,50,000 जोड़ रहे हैं और ब्याज का दर 7% से 8% तक रहेगा, 8.25। और सबसे विशेष बात यह है कि ये बैंक या वित्तीय संस्था जो लोन्स देंगे उसको गारंटी सरकार दे रही। जैसे आपको पता है कि पिछले साल 8 महीने 80 करोड़ गरीबों को प्रति महीने 5 किलो के हिसाब से 40 किलो अनाज मुफ्त दिया था। इस बार सरकार ने फैसला किया है जून से नवंबर तक 6 महीने, मई से नवंबर तक 6 महीने मुफ्त अनाज मिलेगा 80 करोड़ लोगों को, यानी ये 30 किलो होगा। किसी देश में 70 किलो अनाज प्रति व्यक्ति इस कोविड काल में आना गरीब के लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण मदद है। उसके लिए 93,000 करोड़ रुपए उसमें घोषित किया है। जो किसानों के लिए विश्व भर में जो पौष्टिक खाद होता है, डीएपी और पीएनके, उसके दाम बढ़े, लेकिन भारत के किसान को दाम नहीं बढ़ने चाहिए। इसलिए एक नया कार्यक्रम किया मोदी सरकार ने और 14,000 करोड़ रुपए की ये सब्सिडी दी है। आज ब्रॉडबैंड हर गांव में और सभी प्रमुख जगह वाईफाई भी पहुंचे, ब्रॉडबैंड भी पहुंचे और लोगों को बहुत अलग अलग तरीके से उपयोग हो, इसकी सारी विस्तृत जानकारी रवि जी देंगे। उसके लिए भी 19,000 करोड़ है। और जो बिजली के परिस्थिति में सुधार चाहिए, बिजली 24 घंटे मिले, बिजली अच्छी क्वालिटी की मिले, और बिजली की पूरी व्यवस्था में एक पारदर्शिता आए, इसके लिए आर.के. सिंह जी विषय बताएंगे। 57,000 करोड़ रुपए, 97,000 करोड़ रुपए उसके लिए रखे हैं। एक्सपोर्ट को इंश्योरेंस कवर देने के लिए और एक्सपोर्ट थ्रू NEI करने के लिए लगभग 1,22,000 करोड़ रुपए रखे हैं। तो ऐसा 6,28,000 करोड़ का एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पैकेज आत्मनिर्भर भारत के तहत समय समय पर जो 3 पैकेज घोषित किए, ये चौथा पैकेज है और इसको आज के कैबिनेट ने मंजूरी दी है। ये तुरंत प्रभाव से लागू होगा। अनेक योजनाओं पर तो काम शुरू हो गया, अनाज पहुंचने लगा और ये 2 निर्णयों के अलावा 3 मेमोरेंडम ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग म्यांमार के साथ है, फिर गाम्बिया के साथ है, म्यांमार के साथ है और नेपाल के साथ है। उसके अलग से प्रेस नोट्स दिए जाएंगे। तो इतना ही मेरे तरफ से। मैं रविशंकर जी को दरख्वास्त करूंगा कि वो एक ऐतिहासिक पहल, जो योजना 2011 से शुरू होकर कहीं नहीं पहुंची थी, वो अभी 6 साल में कितनी कैसे पहुंची, इसकी जानकारी दें।
नमस्ते मित्रों, मित्र प्रकाश जी, मित्र RK सिंह जी, सभी पत्रकार मित्रों। आज इंफॉर्मेशन हाईवे हर गांव तक पहुंचे, इस दिशा में नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार ने एक ऐतिहासिक फैसला किया है। टुडे हिस्टोरिक डिसीजन हैज बीन टेकन इन परस्यूट ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन हाईवे in all the villages of India. जब से हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी की अगुवाई में सरकार आई है, उसमें कुछ स्पष्ट लक्ष्य होते हैं। हर गांव में सड़क पहुंचे, हर गांव में बिजली पहुंचे और अब हर गांव में इंफॉर्मेशन ईवे पहुंचे। ये है मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट। आपको समय पर बताया जाता है कितनी सड़कें बनी हैं, कितनी बन रही हैं। नेशनल हाईवे तो रिकॉर्ड बना है, बताने की जरूरत नहीं है। आज देश के सारे गांव में बिजली पहुंच गई है। इसकी चर्चा भी होती रही है कई बार, संसद के अंदर, संसद के बाहर। और पिछले 15 अगस्त को लाल किले की प्राचीर से प्रधानमंत्री जी ने घोषित किया था कि 1000 दिन में देश के 6 लाख गांव में हम ऑप्टिकल फाइबर ब्रॉडबैंड भारत नेट के माध्यम से लाएंगे। ब्रिंगिंग ऑप्टिकल फाइबर ब्रॉडबैंड थ्रू भारत नेट विद इन अ टाइम लिमिट ऑफ 1000 days in all the 6 lakh villages of India. That was a public declaration on the last Independence Day from the ramparts of Red Fort. आज उसी की दिशा में एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण निर्णय हुआ है जो मैं आपको बताने जा रहा हूं। अभी प्रकाश जी पूर्व सरकार के काम करने के तरीके के बारे में बता रहे थे। ये जो भारत नेट है, ये नोफन के रूप में 2011 में शुरू हुआ था, नेशनल ऑप्टिकल फाइबर नेटवर्क प्रोग्राम। और 14 में जब हम लोग की सरकार आई तो मुझे इस विभाग को देखने का प्रधानमंत्री जी ने अवसर दिया था। उस समय तक कोई काम नहीं हुआ था। कोई काम का मतलब कोई काम नहीं। सिर्फ ये घोषणा हुई थी कि 3 PSU ये काम करेंगे, BSNL, भारत पावर ग्रिड कॉरपोरेशन और एयरटेल। आज मुझे आपको बताते हुए प्रसन्नता हो रही है कि हम 1,56,000 ग्राम पंचायतों में पहुंच चुके हैं। बिकॉज उसमें 2.5 लाख देश के ग्राम पंचायतों को ऑप्टिकल फाइबर से जोड़ना था। तो हम 1,56,000 ग्राम पंचायतों में पहुंच गए हैं। फिर प्रधानमंत्री जी ने घोषित कर दिया कि हम देश